Hi, it's Kelly here from Kel's Creations. If you've made any of my other small Haahoos and you want to make the checked one today, I'm going to show you how. So we're going to start with some red. I'm using DMC Petra size 3 with a 1.75mm hook. You can use your preferred thread. I've also got the blue. I'm going to show you how to do the lovely checked pattern. There is already a video for the checked Haahoo on my YouTube channel, but it's the bigger one, which is same pattern, but it's just a lot bigger. This one matches the other little ones. Right, so I'm just doing a magic ring, 6 double crochets into that magic ring. So that's 4, 5, and I'm going to show you a little tip here. On the last one, if you do an extended single crochet, then it just, when we're working the amigurumi method, makes it a little bit neater. So just pull that nice and tight, pull on that one. If you've done my other videos, you will have seen me do that a little bit slower. Right, so we're going to increase in each stitch around now. So I've got 6 stitches and I'm going to increase in each one of those. So that's doing 2 double crochets into each, and that will give us 12 stitches. So that's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You might notice that I'm working over my tail. 9, 10. That means that I don't have to sew it in later. And usually I save them to start show at the beginning of the round instead of a stitch marker, but on this one I won't need to. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Oh, I've done 13 there. Too busy talking. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. So I've got 12 stitches. So I'm just going to trim off. Sorry, huge scissors. Not prepared for this. Trim off that tail because I don't need it. Right, so on this row, we're going to increase with the blue, and then increase with the red and then do a blue stitch. So normally for 18 stitches, we do an increase and then a double crochet. So what I'm going to do on my second stitch of my increase, I'm going to join the blue, and then I'm going to work over both threads and do 1 double crochet. I'm going to finish it, it's a little bit faffy but it's worth it, with the red. You get that nice neat stitch then. So again, increase on that second stitch of the increase, finish it off with the blue and a single crochet. Oh, nearly went over with the blue then. Switch back to the red, increase. It gets easier later when you haven't got that starting thread there to get in the way. So the blue, back to the red for the increase. Blue, back to the red. Right, and what I'm going to do at this point is I'm going to just cut that tail off so that it's not getting in the way. Right, so back to the blue for 1 stitch, and then it's easy to switch back colours now, look. I've got that tail getting in the way. Ooh. Increase with the red, switch to the blue, blue stitch. Alright, and we're going to go back to the red. So as you can see, we've got 2 red stitches in between each of the blue. So this time I'm going to do red, in 2 stitches. Red's going everywhere, sorry. And I'm going to increase in the blue. Okay, so I've just increased in that first blue stitch, and then we're going to go into the first red stitch, pull the red through. So now we're going to have 3 blue stitches and just the 1 red. So 1 red, pull the blue through. Trying to do a treble. Increase, and blue in the first red stitch, pull the red through. 1 red stitch, pull the blue through. Increase in the blue stitch, switch back to red. Always continue that till you get to the other side. So I've just completed that row, and I finished with that red stitch and then switched back to the blue. So on this row, I'm just going to crochet all the way around in blue, but on the first blue stitch we're going to increase because we still need to increase. And then I'm going to do double crochet in the next 3, so into the top of that red one, and then in the first blue one again, increase, double crochet in the next 3, and then continue until you get back around to this red one. Okay, so I've got all the way around. I've just crocheted into the top of the red stitch. Right, we're going to go around to this point to start our next red, but we're not going to increase on this one. So when you do the full round, the first bit of the next one, when you start adding the colour points again, we don't increase on that first bit. Right, so I have done 1, 2, 3, 4. 5th one is going to be in the top, so I'm just going to go back and change to red, and we're going to do an increase in the top of there. And on the second stitch of the increase, we're going to pull the blue in. So the point is starting at the point of the last one. Split my thread around. Alright, and we've done our increase. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Again, pick up the red. Increase. So at each point, so it's 4 blues, increase with the red round to here. So I worked my way around doing my 4 blues and my increase, and I've just done my 4 blues, changed to red, and I'm back to this red point here. So what we're going to do is an increase in the first one, and a bit like we did with the blue here, but we're going to do a stitch in the next one, so that's 3, and then in the first blue one, and switch back to blue, and then we've got a lovely point there to our first diamond. So then we've got 3 blues this time, switch to the red, so increase in that first red, do double crochet into the next and into the first blue one, and then switch back to blue. There we go, look. Carry on with that until the red bit. Okay, so I've got back around and I've just done my 3 blues. So all the way around I've got 4 reds, 3 blues, 4 reds, 3 blues. So this time it's continuing in the exact same way. So we increase in that first red, double crochet in all the reds. Ooh, I'm stuck to my scissors. And into the first blue. Right, so I'll switch over to the blue. Do 2 double crochet this time. Now as you can see, the points are quite narrow and they're not the beautiful diamonds that we get further on. That's because we later on, when we've got to the size we want, we start doing decreases as well to keep it from growing, and that's when we get the really beautiful diamonds. And the reason we don't use a stitch marker on this is because it took me forever to work this pattern out so that it worked, but we do those extra stitches without the increase when we've done a full colour row, and so the beginning of the row moves around to the next block each time, so it's not always the same place. Right. And something quite therapeutic about this pattern. It used to drive me crackers and I used to find it really hard work. And then once I'd actually figured it out properly, I actually quite like doing it now. I've done a fair few of them though as well. Not of the smaller ones yet, but thread starve in my mind, it keeps trying to escape. Next time I pause it, I might go and find me little yarn spinner. So I'm just working all the way around, exactly the same, into the first blue one, swap back. So now we've got another one to do, and then we'll be down to 2 blues. And if ever, it's quite forgiving this pattern, if ever when you've done a row around and you think, oh, I've got the wrong amount of stitches in one of them, I've forgotten to increase, don't pull it out, just do it on the next round. Just do a sneaky increase in the middle, and then it's not noticed, because we all make those mistakes sometimes. And you know, we call them happy accidents or making it individual. Right, so I'm down to my 2. So that takes me back to the beginning of the round, because each bit is exactly the same. So this time, guess what? Exactly the same as before. Increase in the first red. Double crochet in each red. As you can see, I will always work over the thread. And it's not massively obvious, as long as you're nice and neat, maybe using a small hook. And then into that first blue one. So on this round, that only leaves 1 blue, which is perfectly set up for the next round. So there we go. So increase in the first red, I'll do this bit, and then I will pause it and catch up with you at the end of this row. This This is honestly one of those patterns that once you get going with it, it is so easy because the colours tell you what to do. And when you start on the decreasing bit as well, it really is that easy. Just see, I haven't quite pulled that blue. There we go. Just making sure that you keep those threads not pulled too much, but making sure that they're not loose underneath. Change to the blue. Right, so I'll catch up with you when I get round to here. Okay, so I've gone round. So now I've got one blue and 8 reds. Okay, so I've done 2, 4, 6. I've done exactly what I said and somehow gone wrong on this one. Look, I've got 2, 4, 6, 7. 2, 4, 2, 4, 6, 8. 2, 4, 6, 8. So I've gone wrong, but what I'm going to do, and I said I won't pull it out, I'm just going to pull it out a little way and do that extra stitch. So 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Because as fantastic as this pattern is, sometimes it can be mind-boggling. Right, so what we're going to do now is, as we did that blue round before, we're going to do a red round. So we're going to do the increase in the first red stitch and then double crochet all the way around, and I'm only carrying this blue as far as this stitch. Forgot to do this last time I changed, did the full round of blue, but I'm going to leave this here because that is where we're going to work our way back round to. So over the blue stitch and then increase in that first red. Right, so round to the blue stitch, increase, and I'll catch up with you here. Okay, so I've just crocheted it into the last blue one. So we've got a lovely pattern there, and now I'm going to show you how to do the decreases. Now if you remember that last bit up to our first colour change, we don't increase. So I've just gone through the blue one and we're not going to increase. So that gives me 2, 3, 4, oops, 5, 6, 7, 8. I don't know if it's easy for you to see when I hold it that way. 9, 10. Excuse me. Right, so you might notice sometimes it's like I forget to change my colour, but it can be a good habit to leave that and change your colour and then pull that out, and it gives a, if you struggle with those neat colour changes, that can be really helpful. Right, so what we're going to do, I don't worry about my threads twisting here. Oops, as long as I don't pick up the wrong thread at the back, because that means they're not getting twisted further down. So I'm going to do my blue increase in there and change to red. Now because I've done an increase, I then need to do a decrease. But I'm not going to do it yet, I'm going to do it just before I change colour to blue. So I'm going to double crochet along, and I'm not going to give you numbers here because then each row is just the same. So you double crochet along. I've caught the thread on that one, I just need to caught it with my hook when I was going along. Get a pair of tweezers and neaten that up. Joys are using small hooks, but I do prefer them. So obviously I'm going to go do my blue in there. So these two just before, I'm going to decrease. I'm going to pull that blue through. So you can decrease just before the colour change and then do an increase. And what this does is it'll give us a lovely shape to our diamonds. And it also stops the actual shape increasing. I've forgotten to change, look there. Getting carried away. Right. So, count how many it was anyway. So it's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then decrease. So that gives us 8 reds between the blues on this round. So I'm going to do my 7 double crochet, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You have to excuse, that's my stomach making weird noises if you can hear it. And then change to the blue for that increase. Alright, so carry round to the beginning and I'll show you the next round. So I've just done my blue and switched back to the red. So when I talked about on the last one not doing increases and decreases and things, that is only after, on the last bit after the one colour round. Right, so we're going to carry on, and it's easy to see now. So we're going to double crochet around to 2 stitches before the blue. Let's have a look, we've got 3 there, so double crochet 1 more. Decrease in those last 2. Swap to the blue. And then this is very similar to what we did before, just that we've got that decrease on the end. So we're going to do our increase in the first blue stitch, into the next blue, into the first red, and change it to red. You can already see that lovely shape coming. And then double crochet around. So 2 stitches before the blue. I'm going to switch to the blue as well. Notice I've got my spinners going now for my yarn. Makes it a little bit easier. So I've got my increase, double crochet in the next blue and the first red. Swap back to the red. Right, I'll catch up with you at the end. So I've got carried away and I've just done the blue bit of the next round. So the next round we're doing exactly the same, but double crochet in each stitch, and then in the last 2 before the increase we're going to do our decrease, change colour, increase in the next. I know it seems weird all this increasing and decreasing, but it just gives you that lovely shape, which is really starting to take shape now. Yeah, no, that's right, that's why we're going to the next one. They look a bit odd, don't they? But when you think, we go into, as you can see here, that next stitch, that first stitch of the other colour, which is what gives it the lovely shape. So it looks a bit odd until you do that. But basically, you are going to carry on going round and round and round, doing this and I'll meet you when we're nearly ready to do our next full colour. Now it'll be slightly different this time because we had an extra increase row, but I will show you when we get there. So just keep going, increasing in the first blue, and then going into that first red, and then decreasing just before the blue. So round, and I want you just to keep going round and round and round. It doesn't change until we get to the next colour bit, and I will show you. So keep going. So I've continued around. So there's 2 reds and 2, 4, 6, 8 blues all the way around. This one is about to be 10 blues because I've done my increase at the beginning, and I'm going to go over that first red stitch. So there we go. Swap to the red, 1 stitch. Swap to the blue, increase, and we're going to carry on back round until we've got 1 stitch of the red. So on this round, I said it was slightly different on this one, and it is. So on this round I'm not doing the decrease because I want to do an extra increase row just to give it a bit more shape. So I am just doing my increase, and as I said, when you get down to 2 stitches it's slightly different because the awkward bit is you can't decrease 2 red stitches when you've only got 1, and it's messy to decrease over the 2. So we'll use this one as our increase row, and then we don't need to increase on the straight colour row. So I'm just not doing the decrease, which therefore increases the whole thing by 6 stitches. Oops, forgot to change that one to blue then. So just going round, so doing our increase. So the decrease just stops it increasing in size. But we don't want it just to be a dead straight tube, so we just do that increase row. That prevents that happening. There we go. Back to the red. And then we're going to do our straight blue row in a moment. So I'm trying not to twist my threads. It's better to have the twist here and just work over it, rather than the rest of your threads twisting up and you having to every now and again untwist them. And it also makes it easier if you do have to pull it back for any reason. So I've carried the red thread along, and on this row we are not going to do our increase because it would be pointless to increase and decrease on the same row. Just going to move that red out of the way because I'm not using it for this full row now. So I've left it here at the first place where I'm covering the red, because that's where I will pick it back up on the next row. Look, just there. So now I'm just going to double crochet all the way back round to that red thread. So I'll catch up with you back there. Okay, so I've gone all the way around, and I'm just double crocheting the last bit, catching up to where the thread is. Now I said we're never increasing that one, sorry, but we are going to do our decrease just before the colour change. Right, so we count back, so that one's going to be red, so those two are the decrease stitches. And then it's just as before, we're going to do our increase, swap to blue, and basically we're just going to keep continuing in this pattern until it is the length that we want. Sorry, I keep getting my hands in the wrong place. I've nipped out to drop some people from Scouts off and come back and I'm not quite set up right. So do my decrease, swap into red, and you're just going to continue in that pattern now, just as we have with the blue, doing our increase and then our decrease and then our increase. So carry on in the pattern and I'll catch up with you when we're ready to change to do the same colour all the way around again. So well done if you've made it this far, you're really understanding this pattern now. So as you can see, I'm down to 3 on each of the blue diamonds. So I'm just going to do my increase on my red, double crochet across, oops, and I'm going to go into my first blue one. There we go, onto that one, change to blue. And then because we've got 3 left, that leaves us 2, which is perfect for doing our decrease. So on the last time we had this, we used it to increase, but we don't need to increase anymore. So we're going to do our increase, double crochet along to the blue, into the first blue, and then decrease with the other 2. Just like this. There we go. And the blue, decrease, pulling that red through. Right, so continue to the end of that round. Okay, so I've got one each of the blue and I'm just about to do my last round of the reds, and we've got 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 stitches, but this one only had 9, 2, 4, 6, 8, but I'm making, no actually, I've got 2, 4, 6, 8, 9, 10 stitches, so we don't need to increase or decrease on this row. It's just a case of every now and again checking it's the right amount of stitches so that your diamonds don't go ski with. So we're just going to double crochet all the way around. This is the first blue one that I'm going over, so that's where I'm going to leave my blue thread at the back. Come all the way back around to there. So of all the Haahoo patterns that I've created, I would say the checked one is the quickest and easiest to do once you've mastered the colour changes, because all of the other Haahoos have got a lot of extra bits to sew on. The yellow one's got loads of spots. The blue one's got lots of spots. The flower one's got all the petals. And the purple one's got all the flowers to sew on. Whereas this one, I've only got the eyes and the mouth to stitch, which I'm going to add after I've completed this round. So I'm just going to continue round just like before, and you do get a little bit of a squaring around the edges, but when you stuff it, especially if you've done it with cotton, I mean you don't get it as much with acrylic anyway, you get more when you've done it with cotton because it's stiffer, but with cotton you can stuff it quite firmly, and as long as you've used a small hook, you're not going to have any problems with your stuffing showing through. I always go for a couple of sizes smaller than what is recommended. So if I was using double knit, I'd use maybe a 2.5mm hook, or at the biggest a 3. I would like to, at some point, make some Haahoos with some quite chunky yarn, especially the flower one. I think that would make a really good cushion if it was made with a chunky yarn. The other beauty about making them with cotton is they don't ever go bobbly. They last really well, a lot stronger, and anything I've made with cotton I just chuck it through the washing machine at 40 degrees. Obviously it comes out a little bit stiff because the cotton's wet, but I just V-shape it whilst it's damp, and then I sit it on a radiator to dry. Whether the radiator's on or not, I'm not bothered, it just sits there until it's dry, because it's not touching a large surface where it's not going to dry. Right, so I'm nearly back round. In fact, I'm going to stop there, and I'm going to add my eyes. Okay, so I've sewn on my eyes and my mouth. Check out my other videos on how to make the eyes. And now what we're going to do, just try not to get tangled, and we're going to carry on. So if you remember the one before the thread, we don't do any increasing, but we are going to do that decrease, sorry, just before. So those last 2 stitches, decrease, swap to the blue, sorry, and our increase, back to the red, and we're going to go round doing this as before, and then we're going to continue in the pattern until we're ready for our full colour round again. And obviously the next full colour round will be blue. Let's have that one more. Decrease, swap to blue. You have to excuse me, I've got a tremor, and so sometimes I find swapping over and things a bit tricky. Crocheting is a lot easier than other activities I try to do. So crocheting along. Just pull this red out a bit. Again, in a tangle. I'll just sort this out a sec. So easiest way to do it, pick it up and spin it round. Oh, nearly forgot to do my decrease then. So decrease, swap to the blue, increase. Right, so continue in your pattern and with your increasing and decreasing until ready to change colour again. Okay, so I've finished that almost pattern repeat, so that I'm nearly at the end of the blue diamonds. I've just worked my thread around to the start of this one, and I'm going to tuck it behind and double crochet around in blue. Now I've decided I'm going to start decreasing because it's a similar size to my purple Haahoo. They are a little bit smaller than the yellow and the blue ones. So I'm just going to double crochet all the way around, and then I'm going to show you the fun bit of decreasing. So I'll catch up with you at the beginning of the next round. I'm back round to the beginning where my thread is, and this is where we are going to drive you crazy with decreases. So I'm going to do my decrease before my increase, and obviously to get our shape in, we've been decreasing and then increasing next to each other. So where it's going to get a little bit more complicated now is we're going to decrease at the beginning of the blue section as well as the end. So if I take my thread, I'm going to do a decrease in the first 2 stitches there. If my hand will do what I want it to. There we go. So a decrease there, and then a decrease at the end too. So we've got 2 decreases and an increase per section. So we're actually decreasing by 6 stitches on each round at this point. So decrease. Unfortunately, we have to do the decreases and increases to keep the shape, the pattern going. And then decrease, crochet along, oops, so red decrease, so that one's going to be a single crochet, double crochet, sorry, I'm not American, but like everyone else occasionally follow American patterns. And then my increase, and my decrease. So we are going to continue in this pattern until we're ready for our one colour round again at the end of the blue diamond. So I will catch up with you then. So I've come round, I've got 2 blues left. As you can see, it's tapering in nicely, sorry. Now 2 blues, we're going to go over one of those with the red. We don't want that messy decrease, so we're just going to go over both of those with the red. I've increased at the beginning, but I'm just going to do a sneaky decrease in the middle of each red round this time. I'm going to crochet around, in fact, scratch that, 2, 4, 6, 2, 4, 6, 7, plus that. We don't need to we don't need to do that sneaky decrease. We don't need to do the increase, we can just do the decrease in the middle of the red triangles, part of the diamond. So crochet around in red. I'm not counting, I'm just going somewhere near the middle to do my decrease. Oops. Oh, left the red split, hang on. There we go. Just do that decrease again. Right, so this is the point where if all these colour changes have had you wanting to throw this out for the window, that you just decrease each row and stick to the red. I'm going to go on to doing a blue, start of a blue diamond in a minute. But as I say, if you're fed up with it, all these colour changes, and you need a break, it's at the bottom, it's not too noticeable, stick with the red. Who'd know? I won't tell them if you don't. Split my thread again. Oh, nearly forgot my decrease. Did I do my decrease on that one? Yeah. Nearly forgot this one though. There we go. Pull some more thread off. Decrease. Do my decrease. And then, because I'm going to be changing to blue there, I'm going to do a decrease as I said. If you wanted to stay with the red, you just need to decrease in the middle of the diamond going down. So I'm going to do my increase and go back to decreasing at the beginning and end, in this case the red diamond in the making. We're nearly there, guys, we've nearly finished him. Oops. Get that increase in. And decrease. Decrease here. Increase. Decrease. And we're just going to continue round and continue in that pattern of increasing and decreasing. Now we've got 4 reds, 2 blues all the way round. this is where we get a bit tricky again. On the others, obviously we're going to work over one of those reds and it'll only leave us 3. On this one we've got 4 because it's the first one in the round. So we're just going to not catch the blue, do a decrease and another decrease. Then, as normal, we've got our increase. Double crochet over 2. Swap to red. So we'd want 2 decreases here, but we're not going to fit 2 in there. So we're going to double crochet all 3 of those together. Go back to holding my hook the other way, be easier. And then our increase. Into the next one and the first red one. And then we're going to double crochet these 3 together. So through the front loops of all 3. Like that, don't forget to swap to the blue. Increase. And in the next 2 and change back to red. So back in these 3. Change back to the blue. Increase. Double crochet for the next 2. And back to the red. Three trebles together. 3 double crochet 3 stitches together. Change to the blue. This truly is the faffiest bit. After practicing all those colour changes throughout, it's definitely doable. And then these 3 together. Back to the blue. And a couple more stitches. There we can see I've not got much left to do, so I'm going to get some stuff in. It's really starting to take shape now. I use pretty much a giant pair of tweezers for stuffing. As you can see, it's starting to take shape a little bit more. So daily I like to stuff them quite firmly. Nearly there. Just get a bit in this end bit. Tints a bit more, I reckon. Alright, there we go. Just make sure that's all smooth in there. Right, so now I am not going to be using two colours. I'm just going to work with the blue. And I'm going to work over the red for a little bit. So I'm going to just go over that one. And I'm going to decrease in the middle of each of the blue triangles. So that's one decrease. That's another one. Oops. Just going to chop that red thread and tuck it inside. Oh, that should make it a bit easier now. So, in the first blue, decrease in the middle two, to the last one, into the red, first blue, decrease, 1, 2, 3, a decrease, 1, 2, 3, decrease, 1, 2, 3, decrease, and the rest of it should be then 2 stitches and a decrease, 2 stitches and a decrease. Did not want to go in then. Two stitches and a decrease. Two stitches and decrease. So we've gone all the way around doing that. I'm going to put a tiny bit more stuff in, just in that little hole, and then I'm going to decrease all the way around this time. So really close this hole up. So you should have around about 18 stitches at this point. So if we decrease all the way around, that should give us about 9. An 8 or 9 is a really good number to close up and get a nice neat finish. You can get away with up to 12 really, but just personal preference. And also 9's half of 18, so it makes it easy to do the maths. Oh, stuck to my tweezers. Get in. Well, I can't believe this is the last of my Haahoo videos. Really hope you've enjoyed them. and hopefully now I've got these finished, I'll be able to get some other videos done and posted. Right, so what I do is through the outside loop of each V from each stitch, you can clearly see which my first one was there. I'm going to pull it tight and then push it. Give it a good, neat, nice pull. Look at that. One finished Haahoo just to sew the thread in. I do think these are such a nice size compared to the patterns I sell for the bigger ones. I like to go backwards and forwards and then just tuck it in and come out somewhere else to make sure it's nice and secure. Excuse the big scissors again. They are cute though. Right, there we go. One finished Haahoo. Thank you for following and watching my video.